Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and I am here talking to you on a Sunday to basically talk about basketball as per usual. It is Basketball Rewind, more or less. So today we are going to be talking a little bit of WNBA. We're going to be talking a little bit of the Raptors, but the main show for the Raptors starting next week, where we get into kind of like what we did last week. But instead of talking about quickly, we're going to kind of bounce around the roster and slowly, as we get into the actual, whether it's training camp and beyond, we are going to cover all the major guys on the team. I will ask some questions today about the Raptors after we get through the WNBA stuff. How are you guys doing? Let's get into it.
Doing good. I'm seeking
Nice.
aspiration. I got my money symbols on my name.
Oh, jeez. What you're basically saying is that you too use Dennis Accounting to set up your LLCs.
Get an Uncle Dennis.
Yes. I am not here to offer that type of advice. Not looking to be in that type of business. But
who needs an agent? Who needs an agent?
Who needs an agent? Oh, you know what? At some point, if you
side note, isn't some news came? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you end up not gainfully employed, you won't be an agent. So, sorry, you were saying, Beyond.
No, I just want to mention, didn't some news come about Ballmer this week where maybe his story's not really holding up as well as he's claiming it is?
Yeah.
I don't want to put you guys in the spot, I swear.
Yeah, there's more stuff with the Paolo Torre stuff that is coming out. It could be a coincidence. It may not. I didn't discuss it because basically there's a $2 million payment that coincides with I think Kawhi got $48 million 1 year or whatever. It gets him up to that $50 million max. So if that is the case, it seems like there were ways for it's just adding more fuel to the fire of the cap circumvention.
Yeah, it was reported that one of the part owners sent some money to Aspiration or something like that, and then it's like $2 million. I think it was the amount that they were supposed to pay Kawhi.
There's another. Oh, now I remember. There's another guy named Dennis. I can't remember his last name. It isn't Uncle Dennis. It's a different Uncle Dennis. So this man is, on the Ballmer side.
Dennis Wong.
Yes. He is a Clippers employee who owns a 30% stake in like this business or whatever. I'm getting the facts wrong, so I'm not going to go too in depth. But yes, there is a little bit of a. Yeah.
They multiply like after midnight.
So he invested $1.99 million in a failing Aspiration days before the Kawhi Leonard payment, and I'll leave it there.
And it's 99999. It's like it's literally like 1 cent kind of a thing. Or might as well be 1 cent below like $2 billion.
We need our man mouth for that one, man. I'll just leave it at that.
That is true.
No, where are you at?
That is true. It's an interesting one indeed. So yeah, but getting into things beyond Ballmer and stuff. Yeah, let's get into the WNBA. Obviously, Angel Reese has been in the news. Let's just get into it. Let's talk about her. There were some comments that were made by different sides. Beyond, I will let you take the lead here and run away with it.
Well, thank you. I just to put perspective on this, I think in this case, in some ways, even us doing this, we are discussing the topic. But I don't think people grasp in this case how big a story this really is. I think this is the biggest story in basketball right now, any basketball at the moment. Because what you're looking at here, think about it. You can say arguably the second most popular player in the league, the second most recognizable player in the league. Let's use that term if you want to play it safe. Where I always say in this case, you want to know who a superstar is. Well, one is the performance on the floor. Another reason it gives you to be superstar in this case here is also the clout they have off the floor. And that clout on the floor means in this case, one of the things is that Does your grandma know who he or she is? Right? And quite honestly, as the WNBA, there's probably about 3 players maybe that your grandma may know. Probably 2 if I'm playing safe, really. And we know the 2 are. And she's one of the 2. And, and just watching, I know you guys aren't really fight guys, but boy, watching how she worked the room and how the cameras were just following her everywhere as was the fight. It was like, I would say must see TV, but like there's an X factor about her that I don't think people sometimes, I think some people are blinded for their own things, but if you just step back and see, you know what, there's more to this than just like, okay, she has to be a really good, I think she's the best rebounder in women's basketball, professional basketball anywhere in the world. That's okay. If you take the assumption that WNBA has the best professionals in the world, that are women, then ergo, if she's the best rebounder in the WNBA, she is then ergo the best rebounder in the world for a woman. So that's a special talent. But let's get to the fun now. Anyhow, so she, about maybe 5 games left in the season, has an interview with the Chicago Tribune. After, and this is not a scheduled interview, by the way, folks. So anyone's thinking that was the case, this is like after the game in the locker room. One of the Chicago Tribune daily reporters asked her about some stuff about,
What you're saying is she didn't pull a Jimmy Butler like beat up everyone in practice.
No. This is a Jimmy special right here. No.
And then show up on Rachel's show.
I can't stand. Still one of the most gully moves I've ever seen in my life. On a basketball team.
Talk about gangster. Man.
Love him, hate him. Woo-wee. But there is something about that story that plays a little bit with this story to some extent. We'll get to that later. That's actually an interesting point. So she says, hey, what's your future like for the team, yourself, and stuff like that. And I think in some ways, I love this about our media. I love this about fandom. Everybody wants everyone to be, quote, keeping it real, keeping it gully, keeping it this and that, and the next thing. You don't want, all these guys come and saying the same thing all the time. Everyone sounds like Jason Tatum, right? And then when you find, in this case, someone that says, you know what, it's a little offbeat, actually says what he or she feels and she or she thinks. Oh my gosh, grass, pearls, stuff like that. She refused. She looked at the reporter, spoke to her, and said, hey, man, this is my diagnosis of the team. And the team has to get better. We can't go through this again for a 3rd season. She would be correct. She also said in this case here, our roster is not good enough. She would be correct. She specifically spoke about Vandersloot in this case here. And it's not, and I read the comments. It's like, okay, that's what blew things up. I'm like, really? Did it really blow things up? Or we'll get to the point here with the GM in this case, my man Jeff in this case here, Pagliocha or Oka. I can't remember at the moment, but the pronunciation I get wrong.
I just want to ask a quick question. If I'm not mistaken, the Vandersloot thing, try to be nice here. From what I hear, she's the equivalent of a 3rd string center.
Vandersloot, in this case, at this stage of her career right now, she was
like
supposed
she's
to
40
start.
years old, and she's not LeBron.
Yeah, no, she's 30. She's 36 with coming off, I think, an ACL. All right, and then
so she's basically a buck on the Clippers.
Right, and she got hurt again for most of this season. I think she played like 6 games. I don't think in this case that was so flagrant for Reese to say, like, are we really looking to put the stock of our franchise in this case for a guy that will be 37 next year, coming off a major injury again, and thinking that we're going to ride this out with her as the kind of the floor general for this. Like, at some point we got to move on, right? Like, this isn't even like Mike Conley in this case at the same age in this case who never seems to get hurt. Like, she's got some serious injuries. So I think that was a legitimate point to ask is like, are we doing that? Not saying in this case here, she can be the backup in this case here, but for Chicago to put that much stock into her at this stage of her career, that alone is already a huge major flaw in your philosophy. So to me, when I read the article and stuff like that, I read the report and what she had said, she made a very sobering diagnosis of her team. And she said, I will make a decision on that later on, depending on what happens next season, essentially. Of course, now she catches hell in this case here because the media turned it into like, oh, she's going after her teammates. It's like, how's she going after her teammates? She said the team's not good enough. The team barely won. Like, the team won 1 game with her on the bench. 1 game. I sat through some of those games this year when she was not playing. It was. I mean, as coach Coach is an old coach in this case here. He would have thrown up probably watching some of that stuff. Okay, I never seen a team quit so fast on their coach as I seen that professional team do on multiple occasions when she wasn't around. Getting beat by 40, getting beat by 20 something against arguably the worst team in the league in Connecticut. Like, who ain't trying to do anything? Hey, they're trying to get rid of the team. They're trying to sell it, and then they still got whooped by 20 something. There's no way you can look at that team and say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Everyone here is fine. Our roster's good. And to add the point here, I'll get to Mr. GM over here in a second. You know, the fact in this case here, they doubled down on so much foolishness. Now, they decided to get Vandersloot in this case here. When they passed on the draft pick, in this case, the draft pick that would have been Citron, who's right now looking to be potentially, you know, runner-up on Rookie of the Year. Right? That was on him. You know, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, you know, I believe it's Vandersloot in this case here, but I know it's one of the bets in this case that they moved on to get they lost essentially the draft pick. So I'll check that out in this case. But Citron would have been the pick in this case in the last year's draft at the point, which means like, okay, you're thinking so much to try to move ahead to try to get to the next level as quick as possible that you're trying to skip steps. Let's get to the GM, Jeff, my man. So supposedly the word is Jeff in this case here is really fond of Miss Vandersloot. You know, he brought her back. She's a former Chicago player, helped win the championship with Candace Parker and others, and Kalia Copper and others. But I think he's living in a world where he thinks it's like 5 years ago. That is not the same Vandersloot. And for him in this case to think that you're going to put that much stock on her to kind of lead this franchise when it's like you got two 23-year-olds, they're like twin towers. You need to focus on them, not her at this point. And I think this is where, you know, things get interesting because what you saw playing out now in the last week or so now is this is the reason why sometimes I don't mind when someone breaks a few eggs, especially superstars, because all of a sudden now the media has shifted their talk of what would be a typical, okay, Angel, how was your season, blah, blah, blah.
Can I just say one thing first? Because I try to be consistent, I try to be as fair as possible, as I can. I think it's a little early to call her a superstar. I just gonna say that I agree with what you're saying. I do think that she is a star that's worth investing in. And as a franchise, you got to decide at some point whether you or not you're going to invest in the future and make the decision quickly. You can't like drag this stuff on. But I don't think she's a superstar just yet. You know, I just want to point that out. She had a phenomenal year.
I'll use the Magic Johnson definition.
Okay, sure. What's the Magic Johnson?
Well, I'll use the Magic Johnson standard, which is pretty much does it move paper? In other words, does she in this case sell out the building? When she heads to certain places, yes, she sells out the building. In the Magic Johnson definition, that would be a superstar. As far as her on the court, she's improved in pretty much every category. Points, essentially the same in rebounds. Field goal percentage about 46% for the year. Shot about 76% from the free throw line. So for the folks that were talking about that, she got that covered too. Two-time All-Star, defensive in this case when it comes to defensive rating has improved as well too, where she's one of the hardest players to score on one-on-one. So she's lifted her game up, and to show the actual point differential when she's on or off the court is laughable. They're not even a real team when she's not on the court. Like literally, they don't compete. They're not even a real team.
I want to just also quote the exact words that she said, just to be accurate to the story. The Chicago Tribune. We can't rely on Courtney to come back at the age that she's at. Courtney is obviously over 36 or whatever. I know that she'll be a great asset for us, actually, I'm going to finish. Asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, someone who's been playing the game and willing to compete for championship and has done it before. To me, before I pivot back to you, Coach, you hear that. What are your thoughts about, like, does that sound like she's throwing Courtney under the bus?
Good question. I mean, you could take different perspectives on that. Maybe some might think if you're Courtney and you're 36 and you're hearing this from someone 21 years old, I think it's what Angel is, 22 maybe. I could see how they'd be like, oh, who are you to talk you're such a young player and stuff like that. But as Beyond said, she's pushing paper. Like everywhere you go, Angel Reese is on social media. She's on the, sports highlights. She's averaging 15. I'm rounding up here. 15 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, almost 2 steals and a block. I mean, those are pretty darn good numbers. And I can see her point on looking at this team right now saying, where are we going with this? I know we've heard NBA guys say that in the past. Kobe said that multiple times. I'm not trying to put her in the category of Kobe per se, but she's still really young. Yeah. So.
But Kobe was doing that. But Coach Kobe was doing that at 18 or 19.
That's kind of true.
He's doing that with Eddie Jones and Ben Axel.
Yeah. It kind of wonders, though, like, what does the GM kind of think about this? But like you said, Beyond, though, Angel Reese, when you go through the turnstiles, you get a program. Who's on the front of it? I'm taking a guess it's her.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, to Beyond's point, Courtney only played 6 games or whatever this year. That's not. I mean, I'm trying to be fair to all sides, right? So some people think that she did maybe throw her under the bus, and I'm going to be fair no matter what. But at the same time, when you're also saying, hey, we can't rely on her because, again, you just played 6 games. We need someone younger, but she is a really great asset. I don't know if it's a full, throwing under the bus as it's been depicted by some. That's how I would say, because it's I'm saying, it'd be like LeBron saying, say Wade only played 14 games, the year before he left. And he said, listen, man, we need another young guy who can kind of fill in that spot that, that's not just basically a scrub, because Wade's getting older. At some, or at least his knees are getting older. I think that's not the worst thing to say. That's just me. I think it's a little bit of, it's some people would see it as brash, but yeah, go for it.
No, Ken, you're absolutely right. It's all I think the phrase I used was a sobering diagnosis of their team. And looking here and saying, look, man, we need a point guard. At some point, we got to get a point guard. And by the way, don't think in this case, she didn't realize in this case that they decided to move off of Carter, who was their best scorer last year, and didn't really replace her anyone that in this case could get to 20 a night.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was his move. So let's get.
Yeah, I didn't even get into
this little discussion.
Yeah, because I didn't get into basically they've traded 5 first-round picks, including the year after she was drafted. And I know some people are saying, well, they saw her as a championship player. That's fair, but even, and I'm not comparing her to this person, but even Jordan wasn't good until they got Pippen. So instead, that's not the way to build a sustainable championship, even if you think that's the way. But yeah, Beyond, take it away.
No, I think you're hitting it right on the head, and I think to go back to that point, it's I try to remember the gentleman's name. I mean, Andrew in this case for my goodness, he in this case check my post in this case on Twitter. In this case, the gentleman wrote a great article. I wish I remember his full name now. I gave him props. They have a podcast as well too that break down the W. And he gave a great article giving context. Maybe put a link in it afterwards to it. He gave a great post article bringing down the context of the Chicago Sky and what's been under, in this case, Jeff's reign as the GM. And to your point, you mentioned one of it was the draft picks. Another problem was in this case here, they have a natural knack of running star players out the building. Bella Dawn, Candace Parker, Kalia Copper. All of them in this case here, it's no, dude, we're looking to try to win. We can't be here.
Exactly. This is a pattern of behavior.
And they still want to leave.
Yeah.
Yes, right? And to your point, you mentioned this a million times, right? This ownership, and this goes to what Coach is talking about, this ownership doesn't want to put in the money for the resources. All right? One of the things that people don't realize is that Angela Reese was actually trying to advocate for the business side, folks that do marketing, sales, to actually have a spot for them to work in a proper office.
Yeah.
Okay. People don't know that part as well too. Like, yo, man, our staff can't be working this way all the way from the sales and marketing guys to wherever, us and the players. You got to be a real team at some point. And the part that frustrates me is that if you're going to go ahead and you want to play big man on campus, Jeff, then if you're going to suspend her. You don't do this pity-pat high school crap in this case. We're suspending her for a half a game. You want to beat the big man on campus? Then suspend her for the full game.
Yeah,
it just shows you how, in this case, how inept they are.
Yeah.
Right?
I've never heard of that.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Sorry, Coach, you were saying?
That's like Coach. That's like when you're in high school, in this case, or college.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of college. You're waiting for the scores for the test to come in.
Yeah, I've never heard of it in high school. I've never heard of anything like that in college. I don't know if I've even heard of that in the NBA. Suspending someone for half a game, like just suspend them for the game or 2 games, or I've never heard of a half a game suspension. That I heard when I heard about that, I'm like, that's silly. That sounds like there's no leadership. There's no stability in a organization when you're doing nonsense like that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean it's
to wrap this up.
Sorry, Beyond, can you hear me? I'm wondering if I'm on a delay or something.
I think there's a bit of delay somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, continue.
No. I'll wrap it up with this just to finalize it. So in the last week, some interesting things have happened. Last game of the season comes, and the natives are restless, to use that term in this case. Not my favorite term in the world, but it's appropriate in this sense. The fans start getting up in this case here, start booing the GM as he shows up on the court. They have free Angel t-shirts, hashtag free Angel t-shirts going on there. Angel shows up, the standing applause, and they're chanting Angel, Angel. I would say that Jeff and the organization have lost the plot a little bit. And all of a sudden now, when the exit interview comes up now, all of a sudden my man Jeff now singing from the same hymn book now. All of a sudden now he's saying, yeah, we might have to look for a point guard in this case here to help Courtney, and the split time with Courtney. Oh, really? You don't say. Oh, now we might have to go. We definitely have to improve the roster. When the media asked him, well, about Reese, what's the deal here? You look at the trader or stuff like that. All of a sudden, my man said, well, let's put it this way. She is definitely someone we have to plan to be on the roster unless we hear from her otherwise. In other words, unless she demands a trade. So that's his way of bailing out from the situation as best as possible, because he knows right now, he's like rotisserie right now, man. It's cooking. It's the spittle's turning and he's cooking, and he doesn't want any more of this. He is officially bailed out. So sometimes it's good to break a few eggs, man, because all of a sudden now folks now realize, yo, man, we can't be sitting here just chilling anymore.
For sure. I think ultimately there's another element to this that's missing, which is that when a GM fires a coach, you're the next person on the block.
Mm-hmm.
He has fired his coach recently. He fired his coach as recently as last year. He is now going to be on the block. I understand that people sometimes say that in these type of situations they don't like players to speak up, which is fine. But then you can't also turn around to what you said the other day, earlier in this conversation, Beyond, is that you can't also turn around and then say, but I also want them to be authentic and stuff like that. You can't have it both ways. You can't, you have to, you can't demand people to be authentic only in the ways that I want. And I think that that's something that is not good. I personally don't mind, as long as she's not saying all these dudes stink kind of a thing, right? Like if it's like really harsh and stuff like that, that's one thing. But if she's basically saying like, listen, we need some help, we need to do better. And to be honest, for a team, she just finished her second year, they were worse than last year, and they were worse with her off the court, which demonstrates that she might not be the major problem. So just something to really consider from that front. Really quickly, just because I want to kind of breeze through this, do you want to just talk about the standings of the WNBA
playoffs started today?
Get through the seedings. Who do you think is going to win? Let's do that, and then we can finally get to some. I know this pains you, but I want to talk about some Raptor stuff.
Yay. Okay. We will talk Raptor stuff. We will talk
Mhm.
Raptor stuff. Okay. Quickly, WNBA playoffs started today. Minnesota, the first number 1 seed, played Golden State, the Valkyries at number 8. They, after a hot shooting spree in the first quarter for Golden State, Minnesota kind of woke up and then whooped them by about 30. I think that's going to be a 2 games, and that's going to be done. Good season for Golden State, but it's going to come to an end in a couple days. The next one was Atlanta and Indiana, which I think is going to be a very good series, 3 versus 6. Atlanta took game 1 on their home court. We'll see what Indy has to say. They usually have a pretty good home court as well, too. So I think that one might go the distance, but I like Atlanta to win in 2 games to 1 on that one. Third series, this one's going to be interesting. And I don't know how it's going to play out. I haven't heard anything about Stewie. She got injured late in the game, but New York took the home court by winning the first game against Phoenix, 4 versus 5. Phoenix is the 4 seed. New York's defense has been a bit suspect late down the stretch, but they got done in this game, and we'll see what Stewart's situation looks like for game 2. But if she's healthy, I think New York ends up sweeping them. And then finally, he's playing later tonight, which is, let me tell you something. On a side note, I've never seen a player probably since 2018 LeBron where I seen say, "Hey man, boys and girls, or in this case girls, get on my back." The way Aja Wilson has been playing has been like out of this world. If you had to tell me mid-July that she would be in the MVP conversation in a credible way, that she might win it again, I would say you must have been smoking something. But she's been unreal. I don't know what the heck got into her. I mean, I think they went 14 straight to come into it. So they're playing Seattle. I think right now Seattle's just food right now for them, man. I've watched some of their games with the 2 of them, and it's been some good matches, but I think Big is playing a different level right now. So that's what I see right there. So that's your WNBA update. Let's get into some Raptors talk, boys.
Yes. So I asked you guys a couple questions, and let's just get into it. So right now, outside of RJ Barrett, we have a problem with driving and getting to the hoop. Now, Brandon Ingram can do a little bit of it, but he's not really a driver in a traditional sense where he just goes downhill in that way. He's more of a, not to use a Harry Potter reference, but a Slytherin. He likes to slither his way to the hoop. Whereas, other guys is like, he's not like, we don't have a Jalen Suggs on our roster. And the closest thing to it is actually RJ Barrett. So we'll discuss RJ another time. I think doing, again, similar to what we did last time we spoke with the quickly, I think that's really good. I think people appreciate those. But to get into the stuff today, I think, I'm kind of curious, can Grady be that driver? I know a lot of people like to focus on his defensive woes. Those are sometimes fair to point out, but I also think we need to focus on the offense because there are ways that he can improve. So, what do you guys think?
I think Grady can be. I think we saw flashes of it last year, particularly before Scotty and IQ came back, when it was just him and RJ. And I mean, Grady had multiple games where he was scoring over 30. And there was one point in the season he was the second leading sophomore scorer, I think, next to Chet Holmgren. I think I'm correct on that. So I just think Grady's numbers at the rim, they have to go up. I think they did a little bit from compared to year 1, but Grady's a rhythm player. Like if you get him in rhythm, he could be very productive offensively. But when he's out of rhythm and you don't involve him as much in the offense, he's not going to be able to give you as much, at least not yet anyway. Maybe that comes with a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. But I do think Grady is someone. I think he's got very good athleticism. It's kind of deceiving athleticism. Maybe he'll shock some people about how high he really can get up. But he's got to add some strength, certainly, in the offseason to have better finishing at the rim. But I don't see why he can't give that to them. Whatever happens with RJ, right? If Grady is able to give that offensively, kind of what RJ does at the rim, and it might not be to that degree because Grady's game is just a little bit different. But if some of those numbers go up at the rim where he gets stronger, And it's not like the paint is filled with Patrick Ewing and Akeem Olajuwon anymore. Paint's pretty open now compared to what it was in the 90s. I think Beyond might agree with that. So it's there, and I think you have a case to be made for it, Kenyon.
Yeah, I think I agree with all that you kind of outlined there. Beyond your thoughts, and if not Grady, we could talk about other potential people.
Hey man, I always love talking Grady, man. I got no problem with that. He's probably one of my favorite players on this roster. So, my man Grady, man, I really hope this year he gets the opportunity to really fully shine. I am concerned that I think of any player that we're talking about on this roster is going to be impacted by the changes of Brandon Ingram. I think it's going to be him, and for a multitude of reasons. One is obviously minutes, but the other one and two is I don't know. I'm curious to see if there's going to be a lot of times that Darker's going to play the two of them together because they both kind of like the same places, to operate, and that concerns me because right now, they still play Grady as if Grady's a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's just a spot up dude, and he's not that. And I think, and I'm curious to see if he's worked on that over the summer, right? We'd like to get on number 4 about working on certain things over the summer. Well, you know what, Grady, you got to be able to knock down some shots that are open. Because this year, a few of them.
Yeah, he needs to do a better job of presenting himself. So I use the example of AJ Lawson. AJ Lawson does a really phenomenal job of actually kind of like showing himself for the ball. And Grady does a lot of running around, but he needs to know, because clearly this offense is not it's not geared to help any individual specifically. I mean, to use Samson Folk's words, there's not a lot of rising tides on this roster that raise all boats.
That's an understatement.
It is so. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that everyone needs to sing kumbaya and blah 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 and all help one player either. So at some point, it's like someone needs to, there are some guys that need to kind of find ways to thrive, and this is what we're here for. So to me, I think Grady is someone, if he presents himself well. Also, I find that because you don't have to just hog the ball to do it. There's a misconception where it's like a guy needs to just hog the ball. No, you need to present yourself well, and then kind of just go from there. I think. Hold on, I'm going to find. Let me see if I can actually find this.
Yeah, just as you're finding that, just what Beyond had just pointed earlier, Grady's got to become a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter, though, like the standstill. That's what I'm kind of mean. I know that he's good at coming off screens, catch and shoot, kind of getting his own shot to a degree, but the stationary 3-point shot, he's going to have to develop that, especially if he's playing with Brandon Ingram. That's the only point I want to make it.
Yeah. And it's a delicate balance, and I'd be curious about your thoughts about this coach. As coming from the coaching world, my concern with Grady this year is also will Darko restrain what we've seen already from him with his package? Right? I hope they don't just make him in this case like John Paxson 2.0. I don't want that for Grady Dick. Tell you right now, that. I didn't sign up for that when he got drafted. I don't want him just sitting there spotting up for threes that Paxson or Kyle Korver. I don't want that.
No, even though Kyle Korver is one of his mentors, but
yeah.
But I agree. I totally agree. So let's go watch this play. We'll watch it in full. So he comes off the screen. This is actually not a bad play for Grady. Where there's a couple things that we can actually point out with this, which is interesting. So he gets the ball. Boom.
That's a tough shot. Man.
That's tough because Kyrie Pirtle set a terrible screen there a little bit. Keep playing that a little bit, Kenyon. And then Kyrie, he stands there, and Kyrie just.
So
Kyrie's able to slip that pretty easy.
In some ways, Pirtle did an okay job of the initial screen, kind of right there, kind of. But right here, Pirtle needs to readjust himself like this, right? More horizontal. I don't know if you could see my cursor.
Oh, yeah.
Right and then, right there, he needs to, kind of angle himself this way.
Yeah, he needs to get his face wider.
In the wrong way. So he's actually too slow-footed here and doesn't know where to go. And, yes, Kyrie's a shifty player, but the correct move is to present yourself this way because you want Kyrie to take the long way around you and to chase him off and then downhill, which would open up other things, rather than him kind of making the shortcut that he does. But
Can I
either way,
make one observation, which I think would be fair to Pirtle? I ain't trying to pick on him, but I think in some ways Scotty kind of messed this up because Scotty passed.
I'll get into Scotty. That is the final thing. So don't worry, he's gonna get some in this thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so because yeah, trust me, I haven't forgotten. But yeah, so then he goes over, and then again because of that, he's right there now. And when I say he, I mean Kyrie Irving. He's right there, and he's able to get the shot off clean, just goes straight up. And of course, Kyrie's like a shorter defender, but Kyrie, this is a good defensive play actually by Kyrie.
Yeah, he closed it very well.
Yeah, that's why I said immediately tough shot. Like you're living off of that diet, boy.
I shouldn't blame Pirtle actually so much for that. It's because Grady came. Scotty probably should have gave it to him on the initial flare.
Yes.
And
right
then,
here? Right here.
Around there, yeah. Because when Grady comes up to the center, Kyrie's able to recover because the way that Pirtle sets the screen covers one aspect of the floor, but not the center of the court. Lively could have stepped up, really. Could have guarded Grady.
I'll talk to Lively later on about that, for next season.
Yeah. The other problem that I have with this type of play just in general is that it's not the type of play that is leading to a lot of ball movement. So if we're talking about 0.5 offense, yada yada yada, all this type of stuff, there's not a lot of ball movement except for off ball movement, I should say, except for really like one dude. Technically two if you want to include Pirtle, but it's really just one dude. You run around the screen like you're a freaking Steph Curry. Try to make a shot, and I'm sorry, all respect to him, he ain't Steph. Steph is Steph. Steph is one of one. So that's but he's still making a shot.
And you're hitting on something else too. Look at the design of this play, right? Say Grady missed the shot. Is there anyone in black that's got a chance of getting that rebound?
No,
because the person who do they have in the quote unquote the dunker spot to crash the boards?
Not so, because Abaji's on one side, and I don't know who that is on the other side.
It is Abaji, actually. Yeah. But Abaji, how tall is Abaji again?
6'4".
There you go.
Well, they have three people in white in the key, and we have three people outside the key. So we ain't getting that rebound.
7 Luka, 7
and Grady and Scotty kind of have to go back because they have to be safeties. You can't let Kyrie leak out. And then
6'10" Washington. Okay, good luck with that. 6'4" Abaji. I don't know who the other guard is coming from the other side.
That's Spencer Dinwiddie, I believe.
No, I'm talking about the Raptors, one on the opposite side. Who's on the opposite side of the floor?
Oh, that's number 45, my man. That's Davion, yeah.
Oh Lord, so a 6'2" guard. Oh,
so it's like look at this. You have two guys that are over 6'8" on this entire thing. Grady is technically, I think, 6'7".
Yeah.
So you have two guys that are over 6'8", and that's it. And they are nowhere close to here. Now, I'm not saying that you can't. There are benefits to having a smaller guy in the dunker spot at times. I know that is more of a trend that is growing. Like OKC sometimes does it. I think, at times there's teams that just do that. But I just think with Abaji being like 6'4" and Davion being 6'1".
So Kay, you're gonna love this. This is what you've been taught all along, time and time again. If you had the same 5 guys on here, the way this play could be maximized to the fullest, even though Gritty hit the shot, is if Pirtle's in the dunker spot where Abaji is. Abaji's where Davion Mitchell is. Davion's playing the point like he should where Scotty is, and Scotty's the one setting the pick.
Yes. Yes.
That's the lineup that would maximize that team.
Correct. Because now with this, it's a little bit different. Because to your point, now Scotty is more of a threat inside here. Because again, I want you to now let's look at Scotty. Scotty, to your point, yes, at this point when Grady's going here, this is when he should be. He shouldn't be gathering and taking the extra second. And this happens in the split of a second. But this is the NBA we're talking about. This is the best of the best. You want to be compared to the best? We got to talk about the best things. So in this case, he should be whipping a pass, even a one-handed pass, right to Grady early. But that's fine. The thing here though is that he should immediately be cutting out away. In my opinion, it doesn't have to be cutting downhill, but he should be cutting away to get his man out. The other thing is that Spencer Dinwiddie he doesn't even bother with him. Look at this. He's not paying any attention to him.
Mm-hmm.
And now the only thing I don't understand is where is this from? Is he saying that there was a foul there or what?
I'm not sure.
Maybe, but him and Grady got to be safeties going back anyway.
Yeah, no. It's just the hand kind of.
Yeah, no, I did see that.
I'm just trying to understand the communication.
I think he was actually saying that he thought he was going to go in for 3, so I think he's ready to do a celebration that he likes to do.
Right? This is a celebration.
Yeah, you know how he likes to kind of put out the fingers, like, I don't know, not guns, but he has a thing where he's like, where he put out the 3 number. Yeah, I think that's what he's about to do. Ice in the vein thing, or whatever. Yeah, I think he's about to start doing that.
The kids like to do that today. Not to sound like an old man on his porch, that kind of thing, but they do like to do that today.
Gotcha. So, yeah.
Man, your man Mello, man. He started that, man. That or 3 in the dome.
He did.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, I think it's there's some stuff that they got to work on, right? I think to kind of put it all, wrap a nice bow on it, to make sense of this, there's ways to make it work. I've always said that. You've always said this, contrary to popular belief. But the way to make it work is the guys need to be put in different positions. Whether it be from a responsibility standpoint or whether it be from the standpoint of literally physically on the court. They need to be put in different positions. So, yeah.
If you were to play the bench, though, the next 5, I think Grady's number 1 option of the next 5 off the bench. All right on that?
In theory, he should be.
Should be.
It might end, but my guess is they're going to split it with a like say it'll be Ingram with take out Shed and Ingram with the bench unit. If they do that though, what I would suggest that they do is, to your point, those are lineups where to conserve Ingram's body, he should be more of a playmaker and a decoy.
Darko is so predictable on this, though. When does he take Scotty out? 6 minutes, first quarter, always the first sub. And he'll do that again this year. He's done it for 2 years in a row. I don't see why he's not going to do it now.
So who's the first sub in this time? Is it CMB?
It could be.
Should it be? I think it should be. If that's what they're gonna do. You don't think so?
No, it should be Grady. It should be Grady. Because if you look at that unit, which we all figure is going to struggle from shooting from the outside. So if you're going to come in there and then you put CMB, which even less at this point here, the rookie, less of an offensive threat, with that foursome, I just wonder, now he set good screens, that's for sure. So that's a good thing. But in my mind, is I just don't understand. At some point, you got to reward guys a little bit. If you see guys kind of making a move and a jump, and let's face it, wherever a lot of Raptor fans be down on Grady, it doesn't matter what Grady does, they're down on Grady. And if you told me in this case your second year guy jumped and almost he did double his point production, I think, or close to it.
Yeah.
You would say, hey, you know what? I would say, you know what? We're on the right trajectory. He has work to do, yes. But you know what? The shot making is looking much better in a lot of spots. He's looking to get his shot in different ways. I think that you would say, yeah. Only Raptor fans in this case be only down on their second year dudes like this. I mean, I'm sitting there going we should be trying to find ways to get him further in the development. And to me, it feels like he's getting downgraded. Because I'm not saying, Coach, what you're saying or Kenny, what you're saying is not correct. Because I think they might do that.
We'll see. What I would do is I would do subbing in sets of 2. So say it's RJ and Scotty, take them off right away at the same time, and then put 2 other guys in. Right, so you put your Grady and CMB. So
yeah, I have something I want to suggest to you guys once we're done here. Not here, when we finish recording. I have a different. Yeah, I have a little idea.
We'll wrap up relatively soon.
Yeah, that's okay. No rush. I just have an
No.
idea.
There is a rush. I have stuff to say.
You have other obligations,
and I also am keeping track of
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we're getting up to it. Yeah. So I mean, I'll just wrap it up with this, and this kind of leads to where I'm going to go to, with you guys later on. I do think you mentioned it, kind of hinted at it. The first thing that's going to be fascinating to watch is two things. One, does my man, since I'm going to call it in this case, does my man Chomchi get minutes early? That's the first thing I want to see in the rotation. That's the first thing.
Wait. When you say early, you mean like within the course of a game?
No, within the course of the season, right? So when we start the season, is he going to be as part of some like 9 or 10-man rotation? Because we know at the beginning of the season, a lot of coaches like have a really large bandwidth on rotations, and they slowly start getting their sense of like, okay, you know what, this guy here, they're experimenting essentially. The second part, so I'm not sure Chomchi's going to make the cut, might not. The second part is, and you hinted at it, because he's a guy right now seems to be in a lot of Raptors doghouses for various reasons, is Shed. Is Shed going to be a guaranteed part of the second unit, or is Shed going to be like, well, we'll wait and see type of thing? I thought when the season was done last year, that was almost like a guaranteed check the box. But based on how, just from what the feel and vibe I have from the organization a little bit, I don't know what it is. And even, and Raptor fandom's their own beast in this case here. So, they'll get upset in this case here, with Mother Teresa. So like whatever. I mean, like that for them, it's like whatever the case may be. But Shed seems to be kind of like on a chopping block at the moment. So we'll see.
Yeah, he does. But you made the comment about a month ago. I remember we were discussing kind of the team, but it was around RJ as well. You said the best way for this team really to get better is for one of the kids to pop. And I think you were referring to Grady or Jacoby at the time. And I think really that's what has to happen this year. If you really want to take, or both. I mean, my favorite prospect of them all is Jacoby, because I love the mentality that he has. He's just coming. He's not, there's no shyness about he's trying to get his. And I think that's kind of what this team needs. But I also appreciate what Grady can offer in terms of the potential elite shooting. He's a good athlete. I saw him this year try to cram it on Anthony Davis. That's not easy to do. So I think if one of those kids pop, I'm an RJ guy, but I can see like, okay, we have to push whoever pops early. We got to push these guys more. I do understand that.
And I think that CMB could be an impact player. But at the same time, the challenge is that with a rookie, you're not expecting him to, like, you're just trying to see what the guy has. Period. End of story. So I'm not expecting him to it's hard to say, he's going to have some big pop, because he's kind of setting the floor of what he will be in the first year. Now that could be a really high floor, it could be a relatively moderate floor, but he's setting the floor. Whereas the other guys, I think it's fair to say and point to them, because you've seen stuff, but it's like, okay, can they put it all together? So yeah. All right.
I would say there's a theme, just to wrap it up. There's a theme between the first conversation when we talk about Reese and Vandersloot and this in some extent. It's like, how long will an organization deal with vets in this case here, even though they know the ceiling's lower?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Yeah, good question.
That's a good question. That is Basketball Rewind. We will have a little bit more focus on just NBA stuff next week. We'll start getting into potential, because I don't see any trades happening down the pipeline. So we'll get into specifics regarding, all things Raptors, all things Eastern Conference, all things, NBA. I will apologize before I get out of here. I did not cover the last of the, AmeriCup. I did not cover and put out a video for the last portion of Canada losing against the U.S. team. So people, if they think that I am running from the smoke, I'm not. I just got really busy, and frankly, life is very important sometimes outside of Basketball Rewind. However, I did cover leading up to it. So we will do our best, and we will keep striving on. Like, comment, and subscribe, people, on your way in and out. I know some people just got in, some people just left, but whenever you're here, like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate it. And then, yeah, that's it. Take care, people, and peace. Awesome. Thanks.